Hey man, can you hear
Hey,
me?
how's it going?
Can you hear me?
Yes, Ken.
Okay, perfect. I always have to switch everything back. I forgot. How's it going?
I'm doing good. Thank you very much for taking the time to do this interview.
Sure, thanks, man. Thank you.
Definitely. It's great to be able to talk to you again. It feels like every time I get the chance to talk to you, it's always for a different endeavor. Sometimes it's Fate's Warning, sometimes it's your solo work, and now getting to be able to talk about a brand new project with North Sea Echoes coming out in just a little over 2 weeks now on February 23rd. I've gotten the chance to be able to check this album out for a couple of weeks now, and I just really love seeing this side of you and Jim being able to do something that's a little more mellow and ambient, and it gets heavy in the right spots. It gets a little more diverse as well too, but just that overall sense of like calm, ethereal moments, I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you, man. I appreciate it. Thanks. Yeah, it was a lot of fun doing the album, to be honest with you. It was something I kind of always wanted to do, like more of a quiet kind of thing. I thought about doing it sort of like on a solo thing, but I was thinking, who the hell's gonna buy that kind of thing? So it was I'm glad Jim called me. I'm glad we did the whole thing. It's cool.
Yeah, I was so excited when I got the press release for this because I never would have imagined something like this actually happening. And of course, from the first single onward, and then finally being able to get the promo and being able to check out the full album in its entirety, and just hearing the diversity and the dynamics that happen in here as well too. I mean, whether it's more electronic based, whether there's some real drums in there for a few tracks.
Yeah.
Like a really heavy moments in the middle of the album, which I appreciate, amongst all the calm that goes on. Yeah, it's just it feels like a really chill roller coaster of an album, and I like that.
Cool. Yeah, I'm glad. I'm glad. Yeah, I mean, it's funny. The first two singles that are out right now, it's the two mellow ones. I think the next one is Empty, the one with drums, the ones with Gunner. The actually heavier song comes out. I think that's the next one that comes out. I'm not sure. We did 5 videos for this album. It's like more than we've ever done for Fate's Warning. It's just crazy as hell. Um, and so yeah, I'm happy with the album. I'm really happy with it. I think it definitely shows another side to the two of us. And there's always been a quieter side with Fate's Warning, and um, Jim and I really like doing those kind of songs. Although I think the fans are more into the heavier stuff. But for us, just being able to write music is is nice. It's nice to be able to do it and keep doing it. And glad Metal Blade gave us the opportunity to do this album. I'm glad we're on the label again. It's nice.
Oh, definitely. And of course, being a lifelong Fates Warning fan and being a huge fan of your solo work as well too. Unfortunately, I didn't get the chance to talk to you on last year's album, but it was one of my favorite albums of 2023.
Thanks, man.
I love the songwriting you and Mike were able to accomplish on that album. And and I just love the diversity that of what you put out. I mean, whether it's A to Z, whether it's solo work, whether it's North Sea Echoes, just all of these different things that you're doing, and just seeing all these different sides of your vocal abilities, the different styles of music that you do. It's really inspiring.
Thanks, dude. Thanks. Yeah, it's always. I mean, I enjoyed different types of music. I always have. Well, I wouldn't say always have. When I was younger, I was super heavy metal kid. That's all I really was into. I didn't really care. I mean, I liked NWA a lot when I was in my early 20s. It's pretty funny. Um, I do like some old school rap. I do, the new stuff. I really can't stand, to be honest with you. It's just not what it used to be. It's just, anyway. Getting off point. I like different types of music, but I've always liked the quieter side as well. I've always like loved Sarah McLachlan and The Cure for one thing. Um, the Disintegration album, Cure Disintegration, is one of my favorite albums of all time.
One of the best
And
albums ever made.
it really is. I mean, it takes you through everything. It's just it's like a movie made to in music. It's just a beautiful album. And yeah, it's not the happiest album in the world, and it's slow, and it has a, you know, the tempo is always just kind of in the middle, and I just love that style of music. So yeah, been able to have the opportunity to sing on this stuff was just great. I would really, when Jim sent me the demos, actually the tracks were done. I think what you hear on the album is the actual finished product. When he sent the music to me, I was blown away. I said, man, I thought I'm gonna have a hard time writing anything to this because I thought the music was just great by itself. Um, but I gave it my best, and that's what you got. That's what you ended up with. So yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, you know, thinking about that, like going a little bit deeper into it, I mean, obviously, when you're working with Jim, must have had some idea of the direction that was going into, but what was it like to hear the tracks for the first time that he put together?
I was beautiful. It was exciting, and I mean excited. That's the word I would describe. I mean, first of all, that um, just being able to work together again was great. I didn't know if we would ever actually work together again on music. Since Jim says he doesn't want to write any more Fates Warning, I just figured, okay, well, maybe somewhere down the line we'll cross paths music wise again. So it was exciting just to get the call, and then to hear the music was just exactly what I wanted to do. Again, I thought about doing something like that, like this in a solo project. I just didn't think anyone would really be into it. I think everyone prefers the heavier stuff. So yeah, it was great, and like I said, it was difficult to think at first that to write melodies or anything to that would be difficult, but in the end, it really wasn't. It all kind of came pretty naturally. And for me, the songs came about pretty quickly. The song "Open Book," the first one, um, I told Jim that was what I said. I'm going to start on this and see if we're on the same page, if we're thinking uh, along the same lines. And that song just really struck me, and I started working on it immediately. And that entire song was finished in about 4 days. I wrote the melody and the lyrics and tracked the entire song and sent it to Jim. We did end up changing the bridge a little bit, so that added another couple of days. But basically, the song was finished in 4 days, and so right away we knew that we were sort of onto something. That we were on the same page, and hopefully, the whole thing would work out. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm so happy to see that it's come off that way because one of the first things I heard when I listened to the album in its entirety is how natural it really does sound. I mean, your voice fits so naturally with his songwriting, and of course, obviously working with him for so long, there's an obvious chemistry that's going on there. But being
Sure.
able to do something like this with North Sea Echoes and just being able to show off more of this side, like it really does just have this great natural feel behind it, and it's very relaxing and soothing, even when you are hitting some really darker subject matter, which I appreciate as well too. You know, it's as someone who does suffer with a lot of mental health issues, I really appreciate the fact that you tackled that on this album. It the first time I heard that song, it really hit me in the heart, and I really appreciate the fact that you put pen to paper for that.
Well, you're welcome. I hope it helps anybody, somebody. I don't know. It's for me. I when I write lyrics, it's a struggle for me. I don't know how it is for other singers. I don't like to use the term artist, but whatever. It's just, but for me, it's torture to write lyrics because I'm second guessing myself, and I have the thing of, does somebody are people going to understand this? Doesn't matter if they understand it. Does this make sense? Does it make sense to me? Am I being too vague? Am I being too open? Just all these things when I'm putting pen to paper, and I just kind of felt like the music lent itself more to more realistic situations that people are in, and I know a lot of people um, maybe don't want to face, I don't know, certain things. I mean, I'm not trying to change the world or make a statement or anything. I found some subjects interesting, like such as Unmoved, where some people who have, battling with depression, and they put on a false face, and I don't know, in order to just, I don't know, not to get the attention. They don't want help. Maybe they feel fine the way they are, but there's the other people that are openly, posting to social media, look where I am. I'm so happy, because I'm in the Bahamas, whatever. Um, Again, putting on a false face, when I know it's difficult to talk to people, but it just happens in everyday life, and it happens more than people would like to admit. But again, it was just a subject I hit on when I heard the music. And again, I'm not trying to change the world or make a statement. It's just, for me, it was a subject that I felt I wanted to write about. So
Sure. Well, again, I can just say it from at least from my point of view, it felt nice to be heard on
hmm,
here. It's just like being able to hear that kind of subject matter, and obviously the rest of the album as well too, being able to tackle different things on there. But just from personally, like that really hit me hard, and of course the rest of the album does that as well too, in different ways, shapes, and forms, and just seeing your lyrical ideas and the way that you come up with what you do to be able to match the song. It's so great to see that chemistry going on and everything. And you know, even if it is like a torture to be able to come up with the lyrics, and it might be so hard to be able to record and make sure it sounds the right way. I've yet to hear anything that you've done that I haven't appreciated and enjoyed, from your vocal ability to your lyrical content. So, you know,
thank you.
even if there is like some writer's block or imposter syndrome going on, I truly appreciate what you do.
Well, thank you very much. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, it's never easy for me. It's just not, man. I mean, one of the hardest things even is to uh just come up with a subject. Like I can come up with melodies all day long, but once I sit down and go, okay, what am I going to write about? And that's a lot of pacing and a lot of cigarettes, and and a lot of coffee. And I think once I actually get on the subject is when it eases up a bit. But even then, there's still the struggle of again, am I too vague? Am I too obvious? And um, and mostly just trying to please myself, and if that makes any sense. I'm my worst critic, obviously. So
Well, the best ones usually are. I mean, because you take it to heart and you want to make sure that you're putting something out there that you can be proud of. And obviously, there, no one's gonna understand it more than you, since you're the one that's coming up with everything. So it's very obvious why you'd be your own worst critic. But at the same time, I mean, when you get to hear the final product and you realize that it is something that you would want to be able to sing live, or you're okay with having on a recording, or whatever the case is, I'm glad that you're in that position and you're able to like ease up on that, and you're able to start appreciating it and go forward with that.
sure. And it's funny, like start working on a song, and you sort of see the road ahead and going, Jesus Christ, how am I going to make it down there? And in the end, a week later, it's like, okay, well, it really wasn't that bad. But it's the same thing every fucking time. It's the same thing. Like, what am I going to do now? But in the end, it works out. And I'm glad to be able to work with Jim again, because he's brutally honest. We worked together for 30 plus years, and uh, we're exactly at the point where we're completely honest with each other. If something we don't like, we'll say it to each other. And that's great. There wasn't a lot on this album, actually. Most It went so smoothly between the two of us. As far as me finishing a song, normally, I a long time ago when we did Fate songs, I would write a melody and kind of send him the melody with just bullshit words. There's a couple of demos that have been actually put out with just words that don't make any sense. But I used to do just random words, just so I could have the syllables down, the vowels and the consonants, everything. So it's all makes sense. And then I would write the lyrics. But now, especially with this, now I would do the entire song, write the entire song, record with the lyric, write the lyrics as I wrote the melody, and then record the entire song and send it to Jim. And 95% of the time it was okay, this is good, let's move, let's work on the bridge, or maybe I'll move this part here or something like that. Perfect example is the song No Maps at the end of the album, which was completely different. It was it had acoustic guitar and electronic drums through it, and it was like an actual song. Jim said, I don't know if you have it in your notes, but he said, kind of reminds me of hobos. And I just find that word funny. I don't know why. It's just nobody uses the word hobo anymore. And so I said, okay, I'll write about that. So I wrote, about a wanderer who's happy being alone, and doesn't feel the need to have friendship or companions or anything. I find it oddly romantic and in a weird way. But when I sent it to Jim, what you hear on the album is what I recorded and sent to Jim. And he wrote me back and he said, yeah, man, no, it's not what I'm hearing. I don't hear this at all. I hear something else. I said, all right, well, I'll start over. I'll figure it out. And he goes, no, give me a couple of days. I got an idea. And I said, okay. So a few days later, he sends me what you hear on the album. It's exactly what he came back and basically changed the entire song around the vocal, which we've never done before. And I thought, wow, and I think the song's perfect now. It's just, it's a weird song, but I think it just fits, everything, the mood, the music, the out of tune piano, everything. It's just kind of, it makes sense. And so that's just an example of how well we work together after all this time. I think it's a perfect example.
And that is just so cool to hear that he was so inspired by what you came up with and was able to uh, work with what he had to be able to match what you're doing. Like you said, it was the first time he's ever done that. That's so
Yeah,
cool that
yeah,
after
yeah.
all this time of like doing things so many different ways or doing it the same way over and over. I'm glad he could switch things up even to this
Yeah.
day.
It was nice because I really didn't want to start over again, to be honest. Yeah, yeah.
Ugh. So, earlier you mentioned that there's 5 videos that are coming out for this album. What was it like for you to be able to do something like that? I mean, obviously, like you said, like Fate's Warning hasn't even done something like that for an album. What was it like to do that for this?
It was great, actually. I mean, the record company wanted, I don't forget the budget was, but they wanted at least 2 videos, and we were like, well, there's really no way we're going to be able to do 2 videos with the budget that's allowed. And so we said, well, why don't we just do a lyric video with the record company? So no, well, nobody really watches lyric videos anymore. So it said, well, what if we get a decent one where it's sort of animated and whatever it is? I'll give it a shot. So we did the open book video, which actually came out really well. And they were happy with it. And then I actually flew to New Hampshire to see Jim a few months ago, a couple of months ago. It wasn't that long. Um, to do photos because we were going to do photos for the album, and it just seemed he was there. I'm here. I live in Spain. I don't know if I'm over here, and it was like, it just wasn't going to work. So I said, all right, well, it's in the budget, so why don't you just fly to New Hampshire and we'll do photos. And then we were talking, and he said, well, since you're going to be here, why don't we do a couple of videos? So you'll be here, and we'll work together. Oh, fine. So we did the video for Unmoved. We did that in the morning that I flew home. Actually, got up really early and did that. It worked out really well. Did that whole video in, I don't know, 3 hours or something. Pretty fast. One of the fastest videos we've ever done. And then we did the video for Empty. Which we just did clips of ourselves, and the rest is the video's not out. I think it comes out a week or two before the album. And then there's another animated video for Throwing Stones. Um, Same guy that did the last video for can't remember the name of the Fates Warning. What the hell was the name of the song? I can hear it in my head. I confess. The animated video for the song on Long Day Good Night, and so he did the one for uh, Throwing Stones, and then for the Mission, um, which is funny, another song that wasn't going to be on the album. It wasn't going to be included. We had finished the album already, and that song Jim had sent to me, but we had left that out because it was so upbeat, and it just seemed like it's not going to fit with the rest of the music, and it had that sort of Depeche Mode kind of vibe. I don't know, and we're just like, well, just leave it out. I don't think it's necessary. So then when the album was finished, Jim contacted me a couple of weeks later, I think, and said, I think we need to add another song. I think it's too short. You need to do the Mission. I said, okay, let's do the Mission. So I sat down with that, just really unsure of what to do, and because it was so upbeat, I didn't want it to sound happy or boppy or anything. So that melody just stuck in my head. I'm on a mission, and that's all I had for like 4 days. And I just was walking around the house singing that, and I was singing it into the mic, and my wife could hear me. She's like, why do you keep singing that song? And so I would hear her walking through the house going, I'm on a mission. And it just built from there. And I just decided to write about, sad, it's sort of a movie plot, I guess. Somebody who hears voices and telling him that in order to save the world, he has to go on a mission to eliminate, he doesn't even know, but I guess that's what happens. I just found it interesting. The song sort of had like a spy kind of movie sound to me, so that's where it came from. So I'm really happy with the Mission, the way it came out, and we were both really happy with it. Really surprised, glad to have it on the album. So we said, since it's such a different song, we should probably do a video for this. So I had the idea to use like a stop motion kind of like paper cutouts kind of, I forget what it's called, but I guess it's stop motion, and instead of just straight up animation, to have an artist do the stop motion thing. So we hired this guy to do it, and he did a great job. It took him like 4 months, I think. It's such a process to cut all the paper and move the scenes around and do everything, and he did a great job. I think it came out great. It's very different for us, but that's the last video that comes out is for the Mission. So
I can't wait to check all those out when they do eventually come out. I mean, I love the videos that are done so far, and I think those are some really good songs to be able to choose as videos as well too. I mean, there's some great diversity with all of those songs, and it's like sometimes maybe out of context one song may not fit or something, but when I listen to the full album, I appreciate the peaks and valleys that happen with it, whether it's a little faster, a little slower, a little softer, a little heavier. I mean, it feels very well rounded that way, and having that diversity really helps.
no, thanks. Yeah, it was the other thing was the sequence. Man, that was for me. It's always a nightmare, and I'm glad. I mean, when I was doing my solo things, the sequence to me was keeping me up at night. But yeah, with this, working with Jim, we're both like, okay, yeah, this should go here, this should go there. Then we had to add the Mission, and we're like, okay, God, where do we put this now? Because we had the sequence already, and so and that came together, and so there you go. That's how that came about. So yeah,
Ah, so cool.
I'm glad you like it. I'm glad you dig the album.
Oh, definitely. And of course, since we're talking about visuals and everything, of course, with the videos and everything, the album cover is very striking to me as well too. Like it's a very intriguing album cover. Where did that come from?
It was the artist's idea, actually. We were talking about the North Sea Echoes, and he had sent us a lot of different ideas. And Jim and I actually worked on different ideas as well. But the artist, I'm so sorry, I can't remember his name right now. he was just, you know, sort of like Hugh Syme, where you take the words and you try to make something sort of vague and rounded out. And that's what he came up with. Somehow this diving bell thing came in, and it might have been Jim's idea too. I honestly can't remember. Um, but this the diving bell thing came in, and we said, yeah, that would be great. Let's try and figure this out. So that's how that came about. I mean, and the colors, even the colors was like a thing for us. Like, oh, it's too green, it's too blue, it's too dark, it's too light. You know, we went through so many different iterations of what it was going to be. That yeah, man, making an album is just not easy. It's just so many. There's so many gears. You know, it's crazy.
So, well, again, I think it totally paid off. I mean, visually, audibly, everything that goes into it. I'm absolutely in love with this album, and it's just so great to hear you and Jim working again. Even if it's not Fate's Warning, I'm glad that it's you two are still have that musical connection together and being able to put something like this together, and just being able to add more to the creativity of what you do. Because again, like you've been a part of so many great bands and projects and guest appearances and so many awesome things throughout your career. It's just great to see another style and dynamic thrown into all of it.
Yeah, yeah. For me too. Thank you. Thank
Oh,
you.
for sure. And speaking of that, is there anything that's coming up after the album? Like anything from any of your other work or anything that's coming up? Any shows or going in the studio or anything like that?
We're trying to work on some shows for this year. We're trying to figure out, see if we can make that happen. Fate's Warning. So that's yet to be seen, but we're working on stuff. And at the moment, I'm writing for the new AZ album, so we're almost finished with that. I think I have 3 more songs left. I'm writing the lyrics for third to the last. And that's it. And after that, I don't know. Maybe start another solo album, or we'll see what comes up. If someone, we'll see.
Well,
Always staying
awesome.
busy.
Yeah, and I'd love to see it because I am such a fan of your work and all of the different projects that you've been a part of, past, present, and future. I mean, there's so many great things. And yeah, like I mentioned before, last year's solo album was one of my favorite albums of 2023. I love the debut album from AZ. If you know the fact that you're working on that right now and potentially a third solo album, that's got me very excited because again, I just love seeing these different sides of you and
Yeah.
working with all these great musicians that you work with and just seeing that inspiration and creativity flow through it just got me so excited and of
Thank
course
you.
Fates Warning shows. I mean, how could that not be a good thing, being
Yeah.
able to hear you in the live setting and playing some of my favorite songs.
Yeah. We'll see how that goes. We'll definitely see. We're trying. We're definitely trying right now. So
Well,
we'll see what happens.
regardless of what happens, I'm very excited to see what's going to be happening for you. And of course, again, the whole reason we're able to talk here, being able to talk about the debut album from North Sea Echoes, coming out in just a little over 2 weeks now, and on Metal Blade, which is really cool
Yeah.
to see working with Metal Blade again and being
Yeah.
able to
Yeah.
put something like this out. I love this album. It's always an amazing time being able to talk to you, and I thank you so much for taking the time once again to be able to talk to me. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate it. Thanks a lot. I'm glad you liked the album too. Well, thank
Oh,
you.
absolutely. Before we wrap things up, is there anything else you'd like to mention that I hadn't brought up yet?
No, I think you pretty much covered everything. That's it. Thank you.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, I'm gonna get this up and edited and make sure it's up as soon as possible, either later today or tomorrow. But again, it's always a pleasure to be able to talk to you, and I'm looking forward to the next time, whatever release that'll be. I'm very excited to be able to talk to you again the next time it
Awesome.
happens.
Great. All right. Thank you. Thanks again for your time, dude.
Oh, not a problem. I hope you have a great rest of the night.
Thank you. I'll talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.